Hey, it's Tess. Today, I think I'm going to continue out of this book called U Squared. For anyone that doesn't know me, I started this journey as a bariatric patient probably about 10 years ago. I was at a BMI of over 60. I've lost half my weight, and I was challenged to go live, and I'm just continuing that. Now, my journey, or what I've learned through that process, is expanded. And by that, what I mean is the tools and the things that I learned in this process to take back control of my life helped me to take back control of a lot of different things. For those that don't know, I'll just mention again, I wrote a book, and The Courage to Change. I shared some of the things that I've changed in my life in the past 10 years so that I can continue down this path and be a part of this journey. And it also leads into this other book, which is the new way that I'm working and living life, and have been for probably the past 5 or 6 years. But today I'm going to start with U Squared because it talks about a few things, and I started this book about 2 days ago, and I just want to continue sharing it and moving forward, because it's kind of like putting science together with like spirituality, religion, God, so that you can kind of see where the pieces come together. And I think it's always been for people that there is a people want to believe the science side or the God side, but then like even Big Bang Theory, people were talking about, well, somebody had to create the Big Bang. So I think it all goes together. And if we kind of look at it, we can find the pieces that come together. I don't want to tell anybody what to believe, but if you search inside yourself and you pray or meditate or however it works for you, when you get in your heart and mind and your soul, that deep part of you inside, your gut, all in alignment, that will actually help you to know in which direction to go. So this book is talking about U Squared. And actually what it's saying is that most people operate with a mindset that assumes success comes one small step at a time. That used to be me. And I didn't realize how long it was taking me to do things. So when I started looking at this book and looking at like what's happened in my life in the past 10 years, I'm like, do I still follow that theory of one step at a time? And it says, I don't think I do. And actually, I know I don't. And I'll give you a couple examples why, and some of them are in my book, and some of them you may or may not know, but this is the second time in my life I've lost over 100 pounds. The first time, just as I was at a good place, I had some medical conditions that took me about 10 years to get through. And part of the process was I was severely anemic, and they were telling me that I had to pump food in my mouth every time I opened it because I was operating on 50% of the oxygen in the bloodstream that you were ever supposed to have, and it was because I didn't have enough iron, so the oxygen couldn't move through my system. So I went through that and came out of it to be the person I was when I went in to have surgery 10 years ago. And when I was thinking about that first time, I did something because I was so determined to not fail that I signed up for a 300-mile bicycle ride. I didn't own a bike. It was less than 3 months away, and I fully intended to do it, and I did do it. And I thought, in the scheme of this idea of quantum leaps, yeah, that was a pretty quantum leap, because if I had taken it step by step, I would have put together one of these 20-week programs that would have probably gotten me to the first 20 miles, and it might have been 5 years before I rode a 100-mile ride. And I literally jumped in 30 days after I had surgery. 30 days after I had surgery, mind you, and I did a 100-mile bike ride. I'll never forget, because I came back and my surgeon gave me the okay because we thought we had fixed what was wrong with me. And my primary was like, and my hematologist, because at the time I was working with a hematologist, they were all, no, you can't go. And I talked my surgeon into letting me go. And so, of course, I went with the one that let me do what I wanted to do. And I did this 300-mile bike ride. And what I'll tell you is I prayed and I prayed and I prayed. Please get me to the end of this, because one of the days was a day that we had more than 100 miles. It was probably, I think they said it was like 118 miles that particular day. It was over 100 degrees in the middle of summer, and we were going through cornfields. So it was in the middle of the state where all the farming is. And I'll tell you, it was a rough day. And I literally prayed all the way through, please get me to the end, because people collapsed. And I make it to the end of that ride, and I come back to the doctor, and my surgeon's like, I'm so upset. And I'm like, why? And she said, I had to call your hematologist and apologize, because when medical records came back, I should have never did that ride. So is it a quantum leap? Yeah. But what it tells you is you can go further than you ever thought. And I've been one of those people. I was a I don't always believe I can do it, but if I just don't let myself focus on it, I'll jump into something and then just get there. And I think that works better for me. If I think about it too much, I don't end up going to that next level. So if I spend too much time in planning, I miss opportunities. So I've learned that in recent years. I can even think of, scuba diving. It's actually talked about a bit in my book too, that I was not a scuba diver. I was in college classes. Somebody kind of said, hey, there's this cool scuba diving class in the summer. You'll get a couple of credits for it. We just thought it might be fun. You want to do it? And I'm like, sure. So I jump into this class. And that educational part, no problem. I passed all the exams. It gets to be 2 weeks before the test where you have to have, I think if I'm remembering right, you had to swim 18 laps of the pool in less than 8 minutes with full gear and weight belts, and you had to come in at you had to be, if you couldn't swim in that amount of time, they wouldn't let you certify to become a diver. And I can remember that it was 2 weeks before the exam, and the instructor calls me out and he's like, you're a weak swimmer. You're not going to make it. And he goes, if you want to bow out of the class now, I'll let you bow out. And I'm like, no, my friends are going to go, because we were going to go to Bowling Green to certify for our open water dives and stuff. And I'm like, no, let me at least try. And I started thinking about it. And I'm like, I got 2 weeks. I got to toss all in or I got to give up. But I only got 2 weeks, so I got to do something. So I started swimming laps, 100 laps a day, no matter what, no questions asked. And I didn't let myself use fins or anything either, because I knew that would give me it would propel me. So I was doing 100 laps. And I only had 2 weeks, but I was doing it every single day. 100 laps. Day of the test comes in. I'm in my full gear, and thank heaven we got our full gear, even with the weight belts and stuff. We got to use our masks and our goggles and our fins. But I came in, and when I got to the end, my instructor's standing at the edge of the pool, and he's like grinning from ear to ear, and he's giving me a thumbs up, and he said, we need to talk. And he's going down like talking, giving everybody their time. And I stand up and I look, and I'm like, well, where are the girls? None of the girls had come in yet. And I'm watching, and guy number 1 comes in, guy number 2 comes in, guy number 3 comes in, guy 4 and 5 come in, and then the girls start coming in. And I'm looking around and I'm thinking, did I not finish all my laps? I don't want to cheat. Did I actually accomplish this? Because how in the heck did I get so far ahead of everybody else when 2 weeks ago he was telling me I wasn't going to make it? And I'm looking around, and at the end I thought maybe that's what he was going to tell me, is that I wasn't right, So I get out of the pool after the thing's over with. He goes, what did you do? And I go, did I stop too soon? Did I mess up? And he goes, no. He goes, I counted your laps. He goes, you hit every one of them. How in the world did you go from who you were 2 weeks ago to this? And I told him I swim 100 laps a day. So that, I think, is in a way a quantum leap. It's something that was so far down the road that in 2 weeks I could have easily given up, and I didn't. On that 300-mile bicycle ride, I could have easily given up and said, I don't have a bike. I don't know how to use these clip-in shoes. I've never ridden 25 miles, let alone 100 in a day. And I am one of those people. I go, okay, I'm in, I'm in until I'm stuck on the zip line halfway from point A to B, but I'll do it because I'm like, okay, I'm in. And, I could tell you that it's bad, but it's kind of fun. And life is about experiences and about living, and living to the fullest. So what does this have to do with this idea of quantum leaps? Some of the best experiences of my life are when I jumped. Like even the idea I was recently looking at, like I'm planning out finances and stuff and trying to look at the future, because most know that for the past 2 years I've been an entrepreneur, not a W-2 person. And I jumped in, like even in the idea of masterminds. All the things I'm doing now, I've learned from people. And I was sitting down and I was writing a list out, and it all started by Doc V saying that we all needed to go to masterminds. We needed to find mentors and coaches. We needed to find circles of people that were doing things more than what we were doing so that we could push our lives ahead. And I gave him a list of 3 masterminds to go to, and I expected him to tell me which one to go to. So I sent it off to him, and his response back to me was, yes. And I go, yeah, okay. Which one? And he goes, all 3. And I'm like, these are expensive. I can't do this. And then I started thinking about it, and I sat down, and I'm like, it's an all in or an all out. Because if I do not do this and do this right now, I will negotiate myself out of attending any of them. And I sat down and I signed up for all 3 of them on the spot. And I haven't looked back because for the Money School Chris Noggle crew, I haven't missed one. And I was counting, and there's like 22 of them since 2021. And I was joking, hey, we got to get, things kicked up for me so that I can continue down this path that now I started and I love so much. But that was a leap for me because I was scared to make the first jump. And I jumped in with 3, and I never looked back till I'm looking now at 22 that are behind me. And I will say it's been growth and excitement and meeting people and doing things differently than I ever thought. So do I think we can take quantum leaps? Yes. Do I think it's against God? No. Because even in this article that I was reading yesterday, Colossians 1:15 through 17, part of it is talking about the idea, for in him all things are created, things in heaven and on earth, visible and invisible. Whether thrones or powers or rulers or authorities, all things have been created through him and for him. He is before all things, and in him all things hold together. But it's visible and invisible. And science is an invisible part of this world. Our soul, everything inside of us, that's an invisible part. So could there be a quantum leap that we're trying to connect with? And I think there could be. I think labeling things sometimes makes it difficult because then sometimes it gives you permission to close things down, and you don't want to do that. And that's what I kind of like about this book is it's talking about the science of quantum leaps. And when I think about it, that idea of quantum leaps scares me. But like I said, I would never have certified as an open water diver had I not jumped more than one step ahead. I would not have rode 300 miles on a bicycle in one weekend raising money for charity had I not jumped many steps ahead of what anybody thought I could do. Even some of my doctors, only one was on board with me, but later she declined to admit to that. But those are quantum leaps. And if we don't, we can take them one step at a time, but I think we sometimes miss opportunities. When I look back at it, the best things have been when I went so much farther than what I ever thought I could. I always laugh, but when I did that 300-mile bicycle ride, the very end of it, a Make-A-Wish child, because a child who's terminally ill is given a wish because there's so much of their lives that are in hospitals and sicknesses, and their families are always back and forth for surgeries and doctor's appointments, and they're chronic, so some of them don't make it. Like there were wish children that I met that weren't around for many years. And some of them do grow up to be adults, but they try to give them a wish, something to hold on to when their life is spinning out of control around them. And I think it's a beautiful thing. And when you finish that ride, a wish child will put a medal around your neck. Now, I carried that medal in my pocket for a month, and anybody who got within hearing distance of me got to hear the story because I had that medal with me. I actually still have the medal to this day. But that was a quantum leap. So I think this idea that we all need to take those quantum leaps, I think we go small and we need to go big, because I think that we were put here to see how far we can help and to heal and to grow and to be better. And that means a quantum leap. Whether the word quantum is fearful to you or not, it's just about taking the leap and going for it. And like I said, for me, the most fun and those opportunities happened when I took those quantum leaps. So it kind of talks here in this book. It says, the unspoken but popular notion is that we must move systematically from our present level of achievement to the next. Then the thinking goes, from that stage we can begin working toward graduating to still the next higher level in the sequence. Graduated, slow progress. I've done things that way, and I've done things the other way, and the other way is a lot more fun. It says, this is an unfortunate misconception, and it's clearly reflected in the way people function. They go about day to day striving to make incremental gains in their performance, but it's pretty routine. That's the pathway of conventional growth. And I'll even say, like right here, I've talked about that I am a life insurance agent. I am a student of the infinite banking process. I've learned a new way of, I handle my finances, and I have 3 of these policies myself because I saw and learned and educated, because those in the Michigan area, we used to have a U of M football coach named Jim Harbaugh, who actually used these policies as payment. In 2016, he got a $4 million policy as his pay. And in 2017, he got a $2 million policy. And yeah, I've looked on the internet and found the newspaper articles. So this is not new. This goes back to like the 1800s. It's with the rich of the rich, the Rothschilds, the Vanderbilts, those kind of families, Biden, Trump, all of them have used these policies. So it was something I wanted to research and learn, because insurance for me has been my life. That's what I've done as far as accounting for over 30 years. So I wanted to learn and understand. Then I did a test policy, just because even though everything said yes, I was still kind of fearful. And then when that worked, I just kept moving forward, because I think it's a great way to go when you understand it, when you know, like, and understand it. But to make this quantum leap, I had to jump in, and I had to learn, and I had to understand, and I had to do it pretty quick, because and make steps. Now, I'm not saying jump into like huge financial things quick, but jump in to learn. And I think that's what happens to us. Sometimes we don't jump in to learn fast enough. So now it's talking about, but your life simply does not always have to operate the slow, small, incremental ways. Advancing at a measured pace, step by step, from where you are to a little bit better, ordinarily feels easier, more natural, and even safer. But in certain areas of your life, you can justify as easily and think in terms of skipping levels. You can move from your present level of achievement to one that is several stages higher directly. And that's what I did, like with the scuba diving, with the bicycle riding, with the learning. I just dove in. We were in lockdown. I didn't turn on the TV. I educated. I watched videos, and then I watched more. And then if they didn't make sense, I watched more. I read books. I learned. So I made a decision, and I went all in. And I didn't take it step by step and noodle it over. I just said, okay. And then when I got to a point, I'm like, I can see where this makes sense. I follow it. I understand it. I have a history, for a background of how this all comes together because of my career. I am confident to move forward because I had a base. I had the opportunity to educate, and I moved. So it says, you make the quantum leap. When you make that quantum leap, you become you squared. Instead of accepting present circumstances or being content with gradual improvement, you go for the breakthrough. 300-mile bicycle ride, passing a certification for scuba diving that the instructor told me I'd never be able to pass. College degree. I'm the first one of my generation to ever get a college degree, because that was the push. But if I had it to do over again, I wish I could have done the online stuff like I do now. U squared implies an explosive jump in your personal performance that puts you far beyond the next logical step. It's a formula for stunning advances in achievement and the realization of your dreams. And for me, I'd say that's what the past 5 years have been, and really started 10 years ago when I started to learn about myself and how to remove the thoughts that were blocking me and replace them with the thoughts that would help me to propel myself forward. Because one thing I did learn is that if you keep putting the garbage thoughts inside of your head, it will pollute your heart and it will pollute your gut, and you'll end up stuck. And I did live that way for a period of time, and I think that perpetuated the illnesses that I went through. But in those days, I didn't understand that your thoughts could be impacting your body and your health, and even your heart, how you felt about yourself and those around you. So the concept is one of exponential gains rather than incremental progress. You might compare it to multiplying instead of adding, and it means a geometric progression in your effectiveness. And I often talk about it. If you think about a geometric progression, I always say, I don't care if I have to walk over it, under it, through it, or around it. That's geometric. I mean, just think of it, lines all across, like almost like a Rubik's Cube. Just whatever it takes you to get you there, get there. When I had to certify and I had 2 weeks, I just had to figure out what could I possibly do that was within my reach in that short span of time. And luckily for me, it worked. That's exciting as well as provocative, but it gets even better. Remember, quantum leaps can come without apparent effort. Oh, well, now, isn't that a beautiful thought? Without apparent effort, I can jump and leap forward. There are high velocity moves that carry you dramatically to higher performance levels without time-consuming struggle. And I have a couple of those that I have even talked about today. Quantum leaps seem to violate common sense utterly. The idea of moving to a higher orbit and skipping several rungs of achievement on the achievement ladder in the process strikes people as far-fetched and even outrageous. After the fact, quantum leaps may be viewed as practical, sensible, even obvious moves. And I'll say, yeah, I think they're like obvious now, but when I was looking down on them, I didn't. But they typically do not come to you as the obvious moves at the moment. So you have to challenge what you think you know. You have to challenge what you think is possible. Because if you continue to do what you've always thought, you'll never get that quantum move that'll drive you forward in ways you never dreamed possible. Usually, it's in retrospect that you perceive their hidden logic and elegance. So know that you're not going to see the value of your quantum leaps until you're looking back on them. So sometimes in that moment, if your heart and your mind and your gut and your soul is like, and you're meditating and you know that you're there and you can feel it, try. Because what's the worst that can happen? That it wasn't the right step, but you don't have regrets. Usually, it's in retrospect that you perceive their hidden logic and elegance. Invariably, quantum leaps are not complex or intricate maneuvers. They tend to be simple, energy efficient, and time savings. And I'll say I've experienced that myself in life. U squared, the quantum leap strategy, can deliver those special dreams and ambitions that you instinctively feel should be yours. But the breakthrough demands a radical departure from some of your habits. And I love this, and I'm going to actually figure out how to do a better way of incorporating it into like these banking policies that I'm involved with now and selling as a life insurance agent. But it's a banking process that I want to teach people. I want them to understand how this works and how people have historically used it. Like Walt Disney World was built using this process. Pampered Chef was created using this process. McDonald's uses this process. This was created for a lot of different people. So for anybody that wants to learn more about it, please send me a direct message and I'll reach out to you and I'll get you started on the learning journey, because what I would want is for you to understand it, and then I could get you set up for a free strategy call. But the idea is it's a quantum leap because it's going in a direction that you are uncomfortable with. But the idea is that you take that leap into educating, to understanding, to pushing physical boundaries, to pushing things that you thought you knew that aren't necessarily the end-all be-all, that there might be a different opportunity for you. And that's, I think, the greatest gift that I've given myself in the past 10 years is that I have pushed those. And I've always at different times in my life pushed, but then I had younger a period of time where I was afraid to push. I always had that little drive or that little push. If nobody was looking, I was going to try to push it through. But now I realize that I've been given a second chance. I really, truly believe if I hadn't gone down the path I did, I would not be here right now. So I believe this life that I'm living right now is a gift. And so much of what's happened around me is a gift. And if I can share and help other people and help them to create something better for themselves and for the generations that follow them, then what a beautiful legacy for me to leave. Because the legacy I was going to leave before was somebody that would have been called home unhappy and sad and thinking that I'd missed out on things. But now what I have is, I always say that, instead of thinking that I wanted 10 years off the bench, now I say, the Grim Reaper is going to be chasing me with a hoverboard, and I'm going to be sliding into home plate, high-fiving God, saying, and he's going to say, nice job, you were a late starter, but you got a lot done. And I think that, for me, is the quantum leap. The quantum leap is in pushing the boundaries of what you think you always knew, looking at things differently, and jumping faster, not knowing that you don't have to walk just to the mailbox. If you're feeling up to it, go around 3 blocks. Do what you can to push yourself faster, because there might be more in you than what you know is in you. And I don't want to be a person, as Les Brown says, that my gifts are laying in the graveyard with me. I want to send every one of them out there. I want them to be there for people to grab onto if they speak to them. And I want to go into home plate completely exhausted with nothing left in me, with a high five saying, nicely done. And that would be my wish for all of you. So again, anybody who's interested, this is an author's copy. This line across here is not on the copies that you buy, but I am getting ready to do a hard copy. But this is the book that I just released about the things that have changed in my life in the past 10 years. This is the book about what I'm involved with now in teaching a different way to approach your financial future and creating your own banking system. This is a great book to read, but I'd be happy to hold your hand through it. So if you want to learn more about it, please send me a direct message and I will help you through the process. And let's all find what it is that we can quantumly leap for. Your quantum leaps are probably very different than mine. And actually, I'm going to say, I want to find how many more are out there waiting for me to try. I like when I push the limit. I like when I accomplish something that's steps further beyond. I like it when people go, you did what? I'll tell you this. This was the coolest thing. When I started one of my jobs in one of the insurance companies, because the one thing about working in the insurance industry is I had a set of skills that always had somebody dragging me to another insurance company. I never had to interview. It was always I knew somebody else and they would take me to the next company. And I had to go through new employee hiring once. And the guy, they had just hired a brand new president over all of the accounting division, and he hired in like at the same time I did. So we were going through new employee training at the same time. And so they wanted everybody to put on a sheet of paper, tell us something that none of us know about you, that you don't think we'll be able to figure out is you. And this guy I knew ran like 20 miles a morning, the new president over the top of the accounting division. And so I'm like, I'm going to write 300-mile bike ride because they're going to label it to him. I know, I'll write for it. And so sure enough, we get in this room and there's like 30 or 40 of us because insurance companies are big. Like when I worked in the medical malpractice unit, there were like 1,200 employees system-wide. So you can have a lot of employees in an organization like that. I think the smallest insurance company I worked for had probably about 300-400 employees. It's trying to reconnect. Okay, I'm here, so I better be fast. So we wrote all these things down, and I put the 300-mile bike ride on it and put it in because I knew they'd never attach it to me, right? So they're going around the room, and they literally went to every single person, and it comes to me, and it's like, it's you, isn't it? I'm like, well, you exhausted everybody else. Yeah, it was me. But I knew that was that thing that nobody would ever know, and that was kind of a cool thing. So that's what I want for all of you. Do those things that when people are looking in a room, they'd never guess it was you. Because there's an excitement in pushing boundaries that people don't think that you can push. And that was so cool, because even the president, the new guy up, him and I were friends because we came in at the same time. But he's like, I would have never guessed. I go, why do you think I pulled that one out of the hat? Because I knew you would never guess. But that's what life is. I want to go into home plate, sliding in, high five, and say, nicely done. May have taken me a little to get out of the gate, but I didn't disappoint once I got out of the gate. And I don't want you to disappoint either. Reach for everything that's out there. If it turns out to be the wrong thing, it's just a learn and you go on to the next step. So thank you for being here. And again, if you want to learn more about this, send me a DM and I will be happy to get you started. And if you want to think about my book and give me a review, I'd appreciate that too. So have a beautiful night and we'll talk soon. And thank you so much for always supporting me and being there for me. I appreciate you more than you'll ever know. Thank you.